and welcome to another episode of Singularity Speaks. My name is Rick, here today with my co-host Lee. How's it going, Lee?
Hey, how's it going?
So I was recently watching the science fiction TV show The Orville, and something clicked with me. Every computing device just worked. What I mean is every time someone needed a computing device to perform some kind of a task, it just did it. There were no blue screens, no swiping through advertisements, and best of all, no warnings about cloud storage capacity popping up every few minutes. Now we got to remember the fiction part of this TV show and how far from reality it currently is, but it can make us hopeful for a better future when it comes to our daily computing and what we should be pushing for from companies like Microsoft, Apple, and Google.
Yeah.
Today, we're going to focus on Microsoft. The Seattle software giant has been under a lot of fire recently for the mess that is Windows 11, along with questionable decisions with Microsoft Office and the overall decline of the Xbox brand. Now, the fall of the Xbox division is really interesting because they just spent over $70 billion on gaming studios that were supposed to put them at the head of the pack.
Yeah.
But now they're not only dead last in market share, but mind share as well. It's like, what happened to the company that revolutionized computer interaction with Windows 95? You remember people lining the streets just to buy a copy of an operating system. It was crazy. But now some of those same people that were lining up, they've had enough and are looking at Linux, to save them from all things Microsoft. And if you don't know what Linux is, just hang on because we're going to get into that too. So, Lee, what was your most recent Windows experience? Like, do you use Windows at work? Is that what you guys use at your office where you're at?
So we don't. We use Google, like everything Google.
Okay.
Google Sheets, whatever their OS is, Chrome, I believe.
Oh, yeah. Like, so you guys are using like Chromebooks?
Yeah.
Like Chrome OS?
Well, we use those ThinkBooks.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. So they usually get us those. I guess those are kind of like the industry standard for corporate slaves. So,
so your last like home PC, because you haven't had a PC in a while.
No, you were actually the one that went to go get my last one. And it was when touch screens were all the bells and whistles.
Oh, man. Windows 8.
Yeah, Windows 8, when they were trying to replicate the Mac software.
Right.
Because everybody wanted carousel windows to like a cell phone to cycle through everything.
That was more a Steve Ballmer thing. When he took over, he wanted to move, everything had to be touch. Move everything to touch screens and whatnot. If you think back, Windows 3.1 was kind of their first like real main operating system release that kind of had any kind of traction. Because before then, everything you wanted to do on a computer, you had to do through the DOS interface. Like you had to type in, load program.exe. You had to. It was complicated to do anything on your computer. And if you didn't know how to navigate through DOS, you were out of luck, right? You were screwed.
Mm-hmm.
So Windows and the graphic user interface really changed how we use computers. And Windows 95 made it so much easier to do so many things. That's why people were so excited about Windows at that time, because it really did make computers easy for everybody. If you didn't know what you were doing, man, Windows could help you figure it out, and it was great. Now, it wasn't the greatest operating system. It had some issues. Windows 98 tried to fix some of those issues. I know you remember, Lee, because you had a computer at that time, Windows XP.
Yeah. I remember our first PC was a Windows 95, and I just remember trying to get TIE Fighter and X-Wing to run on that thing was a pain in the ass.
Yeah. Well, that's another thing that Microsoft has gotten a lot better at over the years is the integration of gaming and how easy it is to game on a PC now with DirectX being included and just the ease of being able to get all the things you need in order to be able to play games.
Yeah.
So you guys don't even use Office at your work, right?
No. Nope.
Yeah.
We are
So
a Microsoft free facility.
nice, man. That's great. Because,
I don't know how much of that is true either, because for the most part, I'm pretty computer illiterate. I know that everything I see running on our computer uses. I just always see Google branding everywhere. So
yeah, and you're probably not wrong. Like, so because you're using Google services, you guys aren't having to pay for like Microsoft 365. So if you want Office today, which the basics of Office are Word, Excel, PowerPoint, those are the big three. Well, Outlook, I suppose, comes with the email client comes with Office. But if you want any of those today, you can't just buy an outright copy of it. You have to pay for their subscription service.
yeah,
Like, and
which I know we do. We pay for the Google subscription service.
the Google subscription service.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Okay.
So we can basically use because they're really pushing for us to use AI at the company right now. Everybody is so in love with AI, so they're really pushing us to use AI. I refuse to use it, but it's getting to the point where to do certain things at work, they really are pushing us to use.
Yeah, that's another episode we need to get into is AI and how that's affecting people.
Because every software company has their own version of that now, right? For the most part. And Microsoft is the one they're really pushing, or they have the deal with OpenAI, right? Is that the company they're working with for?
So, Microsoft has their own in Copilot. Copilot is
right.
Microsoft's AI, and that's another issue. They're pushing that on. Oh man, they're pushing that on everybody. And everything.
Yeah.
So they're
removing it. Their new CEO wants to remove it from the consoles, though, right?
They're removing it from quite a few things, I think, because of the pushback. Like they've just gotten so much pushback on so many things. Let's get into a little bit of history of Microsoft before we talk about where they're at today. Microsoft Office was their first big product with Word, Excel. It was bundled with Apple's Macintosh. You remember the Macintosh way back when we were kids, right? Well, Office was the first productivity suite bundled with that Macintosh. So this was before Microsoft had their own operating system. But Bill Gates knew that in order to really grow the company, he needed to be in control of the whole thing. He wanted to be in control of everything. So that's why they started working on their own operating system. Windows 95, again, launched in August of 1995. And they spent so much money marketing that thing, dude. They paid the Rolling Stones. It was like $8 million. Remember Start Me Up?
Yep.
Yep. All those commercials. Oh, man. Yeah. I want to say it was within like 2 or 3 years, Microsoft had a 90% monopoly over the world's computers. Like Mac was on the outs and Windows was everywhere. And now I don't know if you remember the whole Netscape Navigator fiasco. So back in the late 90s, and it was like 97, 98, somewhere around there, people started to complain because they started integrating Internet Explorer directly into the operating system. So the web browser was bundled with Windows. And you couldn't uninstall it. Well, you could, but it was incredibly difficult to uninstall. And they told computer manufacturers that if they unbundled Internet Explorer or pre-installed Netscape Navigator, the competing web browser, that Microsoft would revoke or raise the price of their Windows licenses. Which means, yeah, right. So it's like those computer builders, Dell, Gateway, Compaq, all those guys. They're like, yeah, okay, well, it looks like everybody's getting Internet Explorer because we're not screwing around with that. So the Department of Justice stepped in and they were like, yeah, no, you can't have a monopoly on this. This isn't right.
Back when that was a thing.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. So it was in year 2000, a judge had ordered that Microsoft be broken up into two companies, one for the operating system and one for the software. That was going to be the future of Microsoft. They were going to have to separate those two out, but they appealed and they ended up winning the appeal, but they still continued to bundle Internet Explorer, but they made it a lot easier to, use a different browser and just to try to get around some of the things that the Department of Justice was complaining about. But I mean, that's the part of the strong arming of what Microsoft has been trying to do with Windows over the years, and it's still not any better. Have you heard of the term enshittification? Have you heard of that?
So I've heard that term multiple times, and that is referring to monetizing everything. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Like you build a platform that users fall in love with and they flock to, and then you enshittify it by taking out some of the value, stripping out some of the value, and finding ways to create extra revenue by monetizing bits and pieces of little things and locking things behind a paywall. Yeah. And Windows...
They do that with everything now.
Yeah, Windows has been trying to do that more and more. I'll give you an example. So Windows 10, okay, this is one of the more recent operating systems. So Windows 10, if you were to hit the start button, right, or hit your Windows key to bring up your start menu, you could start typing and it would pull up because it had an index of all of your files. So it would pull up your files through its index of whatever it was you were typing. So if you were trying to find a program or a document or whatever, you just hit the start button and you just start typing and it pulls up whatever you're looking for. It gives you a list of all the things that you have on your computer looking for. Well, now in Windows 11, when you go to do that, some of the first things that pop up are advertisements. As you're typing, okay, it's like, oh, you want to check out this, you want to check out this, and this, before it finally might settle on the program that you're looking for. And you click on those links, right? And they're Bing links, which is Microsoft's search engine. So you're using their search engine and they're getting click-throughs for when somebody clicks on that kind of stuff. If they don't know, man, most people don't understand that that's an advertisement, even though it may say ad in a little itty bitty type. People aren't going to see that. They don't know.
Yeah.
It's like, why should you be paying? Oh, okay. What is a Windows Home license right now, which is like one of the lowest tiers of Windows you can purchase, like $140? Why should you be paying $140 and then you still have advertisements in the software? Like,
why can't you just own the program?
That's what I'm saying. Like when I type to look for something, I want to look on my computer. I don't want to be searching the internet for whatever. If I want that, I'll go onto the internet and I'll search there.
So when did Microsoft start implying this ownership is a myth thing?
I don't know.
Because I know a lot of companies are doing that now, but when did they specifically start to?
I don't, it's one of those things where I think it's so gradual that I don't know that there's a specific time where you could say, oh yeah, that was a clear-cut time of when it got that bad.
So they just slowly introduce it.
Right.
Slow rollout.
Well, here's something that they introduced into Windows 10 that was incredibly frustrating, and it's still a part of Windows 11, despite the mounting frustrations from people over this. So when you have a new computer or whatever, and you're installing Windows, okay, it's not as easy as just getting the installation and then boom, a couple of things to set up and you're at the desktop. Now there's a lot of different things they want to walk you through. One of which is they're trying to push Microsoft 365, Xbox, and a Game Pass subscription.
Because everything's an Xbox, man.
Right. Well, we'll get to that. Yeah. The most frustrating, though, is OneDrive storage, which is their online storage that you can pay for, right? Their cloud storage.
Mm-hmm.
So this messed up thing, man, the screwy thing is they don't make it very easy to realize that you're opting into storing everything on OneDrive and not on your computer. So it will default to setting you up with a free OneDrive account that's only like 1 gigabyte, which is nothing, right? Or whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
So your storage fills up real fast. Of course it does. And then you get pop-ups of, hey, you're out of storage. You're going to run out. You need to, you want to here, click here and you can pay for more storage. But people don't know. And so they're like, I bought this brand new computer and it was supposed to have a huge hard drive. And now I got nothing. It's like, are you kidding? Like man, it sucks so bad.
That's insane. That's just a thing now. And it's with everything. It's with, any cell phone that you buy. It's like now the videos are in 4K and HDR quality, which take up a bunch of room. They only give you a phone that's 200 gigs at the most.
Right.
And then, then they get you subscribed to iCloud or OneDrive or,
yep.
And they're like, oh, just a terabyte for $5.99 a month. Oh, wait, you need 2 terabytes now. Or you could do a year for $49.99.
You are not wrong. It would be one thing if they made it super clear when you're setting up your Windows system that you were opting into a subscription service with OneDrive. Even though it was free, it's still a subscription service for that. You still sign up for this service. And then it doesn't store the items on your computer. I think at one time it did, and then it would back them up in the cloud. And now I don't know, man. Because I always make sure I've unchecked that anytime I'm installing an OS for myself or somebody else.
Yeah.
They should not be so discreet about hiding the way that you can opt out of that. It's dumb. I don't like it, and it shouldn't be a thing.
It's pretty, it's just shady.
It is. It's super shady. So they've got the ads everywhere. Start menu and your file explorer, and there's no real easy way to turn any of that off. Like I said, right? Then you've got your RAM usage. On a clean installation of Windows, when you boot up and you're just sitting at the desktop, it's already using almost up to 8 gigs of RAM doing nothing, just sitting there. It's like, okay, how many things do you need running? Especially for the speed of hard drives that we have today, there's no reason that they should be running all of these different processes. And then you include Copilot, the AI, into that.
Yep. That's the Copilot. Yeah.
Yep. And it's like, man, why can't you make a leaner operating system that uses less RAM and then let people opt into Copilot? Well, obviously, because if they let people opt into Copilot, people aren't going to, and they're not going to have any users, right? So they have to force it on you to try to lock you into their ecosystem. So they are trying to walk back some of that Copilot stuff, especially in the next Xbox, where they, we're talking about integrating Copilot everywhere.
Yeah.
Man,
my wife has a HP laptop, and just trying to navigate through that thing. It's like, I don't want to use MSN to like search and like, I don't like, I have to download Google as a separate fucking app. Like, this is
right.
Yeah. It's a lot of workaround in order to, especially if you do get a new PC, because paying to have all that stuff taken off of it is ridiculous anyway. It's like, I don't know. It's like anything. You should be able to start from scratch and add whatever you want on there.
Well, here's the great thing about Microsoft 365. Come October 13th of this year, they're removing Microsoft Publisher from its end of life, meaning that if you have a Microsoft 365 subscription, any publisher files that you have, you will no longer be able to open. You will have no way of accessing those files ever again.
Oh, that's incredible.
That's great.
What an amazing feature.
So like for my company, okay, like we have an older version. We're using an older version of Publisher, and we have a boatload of Publisher files that we use for box labels for, when items are finished and we want to create a label for the box. All of these things were created in Publisher because it was just super easy. Instead of trying to open up an Adobe product, it was much easier just to open up Microsoft Publisher and do it that way. Thankfully, I think we're going to still be able to open all of our programs, because all of our Publisher files, because we're on an actual standalone version of Publisher. But if we were on 365, or if we have to move to 365, we'll never be able to access those files ever again.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Like if they're not going to update, add new features to Publisher, fine. But you can at least support it by continuing to patch security vulnerabilities so that people can still use it.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Microsoft's decision making is incredibly frustrating right now. Let's discuss Xbox and where Xbox is right now. I don't think anybody really knew what to expect when Microsoft got into the console business with the first Xbox. Like, how did you feel about that first Xbox? You had one, right?
I did. I was a little late to the game getting the first Xbox. I definitely didn't jump on with Halo. It's kind of embarrassing, but I think that like Dead or Alive was the franchise that got me to get an Xbox One.
Yeah.
And then they had like Dead or Alive Volleyball, which was awesome. And then they had like the first Ninja Gaiden. And then I jumped onto Halo, and I was like late to the game with Halo. Not like jumped on at Halo 2, but I played Halo 1 after it'd been out for a little bit. And I never realized how much fun a co-op game could be. So yeah, I definitely had Xbox and an Xbox 360, and I dropped off before the Xbox One. So like, I don't know, it was like you had to make a choice between PlayStation 4. Sounds so cliche, but you had to make a choice between PlayStation 4, especially with how expensive consoles were getting.
Yeah, that's
and it's
the
like
thing.
You had to, you had to decide. And I think it was Arkham Knight that was like the game that made me decide between the two. Or it was Bloodborne, actually. Bloodborne for the PlayStation 4, the FromSoft game. Because I really wanted to play the next Halo and stuff, but I just couldn't fork out the money for the new.
And I don't think you're alone, because I think a lot of people I know that dropped off around the same time that you did. Either they had had enough with the Red Ring of Death with the 360, or they just felt like there were more interesting options for games on the PlayStation than there was in the Xbox at that time. Were there any Xbox exclusive games at that time do you feel that you missed out on?
Yes. So I was heavily into the Halo franchise, and I was heavily into the Gears franchise. And I had to drop off of both of those. And I know that they both had exclusives for the Xbox One. I believe it was Halo 5, and I never got a chance to play that. And then Gears of War 4, and I never got a chance to play that either. And I think 5 came out on the Xbox One as well, and I never got a chance to play that one either.
You obviously didn't get a Series X or Series S either then, yeah?
No, so I didn't get to play is it Halo Infinite? Which was a complete
Halo
bomb and cost $1 million trillion to make, but
yes. It did not do well for them. It did not. Yeah. So I think, like you said, you dropped off right around Xbox One. I think a lot of people did as well, and Microsoft struggled. Phil Spencer took over the Xbox division. He made, I think, some questionable decisions with the Xbox One.
He was the one that wanted to start purchasing all the studios, right?
Yeah. So he started Game Pass.
Another big mistake.
I think the idea of Game Pass is interesting, but I don't know that it works for day one releases, because you're cannibalizing sales.
Yeah.
Right?
But you have
and
to think of what
momentum.
was super popular. Like Netflix was taking off like so huge at that time that games as a service was like announced.
The idea of paying a monthly fee for access to a huge library of games is very interesting. But when you talk about day one releases,
you're undercutting
you're undercutting
developers.
And I don't know, because they don't release the figures of what they pay studios to put games onto Game Pass.
They stopped after and then the other thing too that's really weird about the games as a service thing is, aren't developers only paid based on how many people are playing your game or how many hours logged or something like that?
Man, that's the thing they're not releasing. I had heard that once or twice, but then I also heard they just pay a flat rate to certain games, like, hey, we're going to pay you, $1 million, and your game will be on Game Pass for this length of time, regardless of how many people play it or they don't play it. And I think for maybe struggling developers, that's an interesting idea. So I guess for people listening that don't understand what Xbox Game Pass is, so Game Pass was a subscription service, kind of just like Lee said, like a streaming service where you could sign up, and they had different tiers that gave you different things, like Xbox Game Pass Ultimate gave you access to the being able to play online, and then they're like stream games to your PC or your phone or something like that. They had the Xbox Game Pass PC version that was actually significantly cheaper. It was like $8 when that first came out.
That was for they were really pushing games for Windows, right? Still.
Yeah. And I think they still are, because they realize if people leave Windows to game on something else, that they're going to lose people just leaving Windows altogether.
Can you still unlock the trophies though?
In Game Pass, yes.
Oh.
Now, part of the thing is back in, 2021 and then 2023, Microsoft realized they were in a world of hurt because the sales of their new console, the Xbox Series X, which released in 2020 or 2021, was not doing well. They felt like they were losing people to PlayStation, and they needed to win back people that were leaving to go to Sony's console, or just leaving gaming altogether. So they decided, okay, we're just going to buy up a bunch of studios. We're going to fund the start of some new studios, and we're going to buy studios that, have made some successful games to help bolster our ecosystem. And like a part of that was to fill out their Game Pass service. They felt like they could get more subscribers if they have more interesting games that release day one on Game Pass. So let's say, a brand new game is, what's the average, Lee? Like $69, $70, would you say is the average?
Now, yeah. Yep.
For a new game is like $70. Mm-hmm. Or you can pay at the time for Game Pass on Xbox. I think it was $15.99, $16 somewhere on there.
Yeah.
You can pay that, and you get a month of access to every game that's on there. You play it, download and play it as much as you want. Any game, all the games. They felt like it was going to be worth it because the amount of people that were going to flock to Game Pass with all of these new games from these studios that they were buying up. And man, did they spend some money, and they bought some big hitters. So they bought ZeniMax Media and Bethesda. So ZeniMax Media includes Bethesda Game Studios. They're in charge of Elder Scrolls, Fallout, Starfield. You've got id Software, Doom, and Quake under them. You've got Machine Games, Wolfenstein series, the most recent game, Indiana Jones. Yep. And you've got Arcane Studios, Dishonored, and Deathloop. These are big games, successful games. These are big companies, and they paid $7.5 billion for that back in 2021.
And it's just crazy because like they're all great studios working. Like Indiana Jones was a great game, and that was
Great
an
game.
exclusive, and that did not do anything for them as an
No,
exclusive.
it did not move the needle at all for them.
Yeah.
So in 2023, they paid almost $69 billion for Activision Blizzard. With Blizzard, you're getting World of Warcraft. It's an online role-playing game that people subscribe to. It's been a huge game over the years. And you've got Diablo and Overwatch. Overwatch is a online competitive shooter. You've got King, the makers of Candy Crush on mobile, probably the largest, most popular mobile game out there. And then you've got what's probably the biggest annual first-person, action game from Infinity Ward, Treyarch, and Sledgehammer Games, Call of Duty.
Don't they also own Minecraft as well?
They did. They bought Minecraft back in like 2015 for like $2 billion. They paid $2 billion for Minecraft. Now, Minecraft might be the lone success story out of all of those purchases. Minecraft still does really well for them.
Yeah, Candy Crush as well.
Yeah, Candy Crush as well. Yeah, for sure. So they paid $75 billion, $76 billion for all of these studios. And like you said, we can talk about some of the games that have come out.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of which exclusives came out for them around that. They had was it?
Starfield was one of the first ones after they bought Bethesda.
Yes.
It came out for Xbox and PC. So they've decided that any game that comes out on Xbox is going to come out on PC because the PC ecosystem is equally as important to keeping Windows popularity up. So it comes out on both. But yeah, Starfield.
And then it just got released on PS5, right? And it is not doing well.
It is not. No. Microsoft realized that these exclusives were not doing so well and not bringing in the amount of money that they thought that they would be able to bring in. So they decided to go multi-platform and start releasing games on PlayStation. PlayStation had decided a few years earlier to go multi-platform and release PlayStation games on the PC.
Did they run great?
They ran great. The only one that I heard didn't was Last of Us 2.
Oh, Last of Us
Spider-Man 2 was great. Yeah. I don't know that they had, the big sales that they were expecting, but you got to understand too that the games didn't release day one on PC. They released day one on PlayStation, and then it was, maybe sometimes up to a year later before it released on PC, or even longer than that.
Mm-hmm.
So Microsoft started releasing some of these games on PlayStation, like the new Forza Horizon 6 is a PlayStation release.
Gears of War 1 remaster.
Yeah. And I think some of the games are doing well on PlayStation. So Starfield was not a big hit for them. Doom, even though I heard really good things about the last...
It was great. It was a great, spectacular game, but like...
That's what I hear.
So this is a thing with like gaming nowadays too, is like, I don't know what people are looking for in a game. Like you got half the people on the internet talking about go woke, go broke, and female protagonists are killing games, and I'm like, really? Because Doom Eternal was not that at all, and that game, or not Doom Dark Ages was not that at all, and that game supposedly did not track very well.
No, but do you think that the sales numbers weren't that big because it was on Game Pass, like day one? Like if you had a Game Pass subscription, they're not going to obviously go buy the game. Why would you? You can just play it on Game Pass.
No, I mean, you have to think about it too. Like Games Pass, like this is one of the reasons that I was really against Games Pass and games as a service and just everything. Is the fact that like you're just cutting the legs off of your product. Like you're killing pre-order sales. You're killing if there's physical copies that come with some type of trinket or statue or something. You're killing those sales. Like it's just you're cannibalizing your own, product.
Yeah, I agree. And it's like, I mentioned a little bit earlier, I think the premise of Game Pass is interesting, but you cannot put day one releases on there.
No.
And kill your sales number. When you're going to get the most that you can for a game is on release, right? Like when you release that game at full price, your biggest sales are going to come from that. You're going to kill that by putting it onto Game Pass.
Yeah. One company that I think is doing it right, even though I'd say they're predatory just like the rest of them now, is Nintendo. The way that they have their monthly service and backlog and everything set up. I mean, you're still paying $59.99 for your games, or if you have a Switch 2, you're paying $69.99 for them. But you're going to purchase those games, whether it's digitally or physically, and you're still paying the monthly service to play that backlog of games because nostalgia. But it's and Xbox could have done that too. They I don't know, man. I don't. Everything's an Xbox. I don't know what's.
So here's an interesting thing that Microsoft was trying to do. They decided that during all of these buying of publishers, they're like, you know what? Let's go ahead and put this studio together from scratch. There's industry veterans, top tier executive talent from PlayStation, Crystal Dynamics, that they were like, okay, let's start a new studio. And they called the studio The Initiative. The really dumb thing that they talked about, they branded it as a quadruple A studio. And it's like,
was this the one that they wanted to just focus on being creative and go out and get awards?
Yeah. Yes. So they were given the franchise Perfect Dark. So if you're not a huge gamer, Perfect Dark is a classic game on Nintendo 64 from the makers of GoldenEye on Nintendo 64. Perfect Dark was a great game. Well, Microsoft has owned the IP, and they said, okay, new studio initiative, this is your game. Go for it. Do your thing. Let's get creative. Let's make something awesome. And it did not go well at all. It did not go well. They ended up just shutting the initiative down, and I think they killed the project. The years and the millions and millions of dollars spent, and they're going to really have nothing to show for it. You have Tango Gameworks, another studio that they bought, Japanese studio, had a huge hit in Hi-Fi Rush. Hi-Fi Rush, I don't know if you got to play it, Lee.
I didn't. I've seen videos of it and stuff.
Yeah, it was a really interesting, like, rhythm game. It was very interesting. It was good. I played it. It was very critically acclaimed. It, had done pretty well. And Microsoft was praising that studio just months before they shut them down. And we're going to lay everybody off. Now, thankfully, Tango Gameworks was able to find another publisher to come in and save them. And they were able to keep kind of a smaller group of people that worked there to continue on with Hi-Fi Rush 2. But Microsoft was, okay, we need to start being profitable, and we made a bunch of bad mistakes, and we're just going to cut all of these things that are not making enough money. And Tango Gameworks was one of the first. Well, another one was Arcane Austin. They made a game called Prey. I don't know if you got to play Prey.
I played the original Prey on the 360. So I never played the one after that, and I guess this would be the third one that was in development.
Yeah, and so they shut down that studio too.
I'll never get to play it.
Right. And then there's Raven Software. They've now made into a support studio for Call of Duty. Like, I think that's the only thing that Raven Software does.
Which is a real shame, because they used to make some of my favorite games, the X-Men Legends games, or I guess they were just the publisher, but yeah.
Yeah, so that's another studio that, I mean, I guess they've got annual work working on helping Call of Duty. Still, it seems like a waste of talent that that's there to just be a support studio. And then you have their Halo franchise and 343 Industries and Halo Infinite that was not good, had a lot of problems, was not the great Halo game that it was supposed to be. And so they have had massive layoffs and leadership restructuring because of that. And now Halo is going to be multi-platform going forward, I believe.
Starting with the remake.
Yep.
Do you think with the new CEO of the gaming division, do you think that it is still going to be multi-platform, or do you think they're going to be dialing a lot of that back?
It's a good question. So earlier this year, almost out of nowhere, Phil Spencer announced that he was stepping down. Now, there were rumors that he was going to be leaving Xbox, but there was no timeline set for it. And they had already had someone in the wings ready to take over. Her name was Sarah Bond, and she had kind of started to do that with the whole everything is an Xbox branding. That was her idea.
Yeah. Well, I heard it was his baby, and she was the
face of it.
Yeah,
right?
She was the face of it. Yeah.
Okay. And that whole marketing campaign really angered a lot of Xbox fans, and
I saw the memes.
Yeah, it did not go over well.
Yeah.
It did not go over well. So when Phil Spencer announced that he was stepping down immediately earlier this year, barely finished the sentence thanking everybody and then announcing that Microsoft announced that Asha Sharma was taking over Xbox. Not a gamer, was never part of the Xbox division. She was the head of their AI division.
Yep.
And she was going to be coming in to take over Xbox.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the first things she killed was the everything is an Xbox marketing. They wiped that off the internet completely.
Yeah. I heard her whole strategy is kind of like burn it down and start from scratch. That's the reason we're kind of seeing the studio exodus right now. But I have to ask you, with we haven't really gotten into Ninja Theory yet, but
yeah, so just going to go there. Just going to do it.
So go explain it, and then I'll go into it.
In 2019, Microsoft bought Ninja Theory. Ninja Theory has been around, a long time. What was that game? Was it Heavenly Sword?
Heavenly Sword for the PlayStation 3.
They had another game after that. Then they did the Devil May Cry.
Yes.
Was it DMC 4 or 3?
DMC, it was DMC 4. Well, it wasn't DMC 4 because they did have a DMC 4. It was technically DMC 5. But it was technically considered like a retcon reboot thing.
Well, Ninja Theory has been pretty successful. Like they've done pretty well for themselves over the years. They had a pretty big hit with a game called was it Hellblade?
Yeah.
With the success of that game, Microsoft was like, okay, that's a studio we want under the Xbox umbrella. So they bought them up. And their first game that they announced was going to be a sequel to Hellblade, Senua's Sacrifice, released day one on Game Pass, and it did not do well. The sales were not very good. Another game that was on Game Pass that did not do very well in sales. And I don't know that it did great with interaction on Game Pass either. I'm not sure.
I heard it wasn't as well received as the first one.
Well, they just announced at their Summer Games Fest presentation that Ninja Theory has a new game they're working on, and they showed some cinematic cuts from it, and it's called Senua.
Mm-hmm.
And, again, focusing on this character, interesting character. She has some mental issues that, she struggles with and deals with. So they said, the game was coming out and, had a release date sometime in 2027. Well, the week and a half after showing that game off, they announced that they were shutting the studio down. And it's like, man, what, why did you just show a game that was supposedly going to release next year, and then you're going to shut the studio down? You know, and it wasn't just them either. There's Double Fine. So Double Fine has been around a long time. A lot of release games from them, you know, and they're on the chopping block.
And these studios are all opting to like buy themselves out, right? Like out of their contracts. They want their freedom.
Yeah, that's what they're trying to do, is allow these studios to find a way to try to buy themselves out, come up with the money, or find a publisher that is willing to try to take them on and keep the studio together. It bums me out. Like a studio like Double Fine, a very small studio based out of San Francisco. Man, I don't know. I don't understand, I guess, why studios are still trying to open in some of the most expensive areas in the country. Like, you know, San Francisco, the cost of living there is enormous. And what you have to pay employees to work there. Now, granted, because of that consolidation of studios in that area, there's a lot of talent there. And it's a lot easier to convince people to come work for you when you have a large pool of people in the area to choose from.
Yeah.
Rather than having to have somebody pick up their life and move across country to come to you.
Yeah, you got to be near all those EA layoffs, you know? There's a fresh crop of employees coming out of there all the time.
Right, exactly. Well, now it's from Microsoft. So Double Fine existed on their own. They had some Kickstarters to try to get some games going that way, but they had found a way to continue to survive. And the owner, you know, the head of Double Fine, when Microsoft came and offered to buy them out, I think the gist of it was it was going to be a huge weight off of his shoulders, not having to worry about how they were going to have the money to do their next project, you know, without having to lay people off.
Now, is this the Psychonauts studio?
Yeah, Psychonauts studio. Yep. But here they are back trying to figure out a way to even remain in existence, you know, and come up with the money to buy themselves out. And it's not going to be easy. They just don't have that kind of funding. Games are so expensive to make these days.
So most of these companies most likely are going to have to seek out investor money, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or publishers that are willing to take them on.
Yeah. That's another option.
You know, yeah. And
EA.
Maybe, I don't know. Well, EA isn't even...
Leave one devil to work for the next.
Well, the Saudi Arabian company now owns EA, or is about to.
When did that purchase happen?
Oh, you didn't hear about that one?
No.
That happened last year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yep. The Saudi company bought them and then took them private, took them off the stock market. And
is 2K still independent?
Yes. Ooh, I am not positive on that one.
Me
Rockstar is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Rockstar is going to be the studio once. See, this is the thing, is like everybody knows that the gaming industry is like on fire, but like nobody really wants to admit it. But then when GTA 6 or GTA 6, right?
Right. Yeah. 6 coming out.
So when 6 comes out and it sells like 1 billion copies, they're just going to talk about how the gaming industry saved. But
right. For who?
Yeah.
For who? How long has it taken them to make GTA 6?
Exactly. Well, then again, they've just been monetizing off of GTA. I mean, GTA 5 is literally just a fund for GTA 6.
That's what I mean. Like, now, when Grand Theft Auto 6 comes out, it is, like you said, it's going to sell like crazy. It is going to be an incredible amount of content in one game, right? Like Grand Theft Auto 5 released back in 2010, 11?
It released on the Grand Theft Auto 5. Yeah, it came out on the PlayStation 3 and the 360. And they've just been remastering it and repackaging it and just selling it back to you over and over again. And it's still like one of the most played lobbies, and like it's insane.
So let's finish up here with Xbox. Okay, so they had their Q3 earnings report released in April of this year. Their hardware revenue had plummeted 33% year over year. They had to raise prices by a considerable amount. Even like their budget console, the Xbox Series S, is up to around like $400 right now. Like, I understand inflation and tariffs have made things difficult, but Sony was able to increase the price of their PlayStation 5 by $100, and they still kept selling units.
Yeah.
So Microsoft is in a world of hurt. So Game Pass, after the purchase of Activision Blizzard for almost $70 billion, right? They thought that having Call of Duty on Game Pass release day one, they were going to have so many subscribers, just like with all these other games. And it didn't pan out, and they didn't get the numbers they wanted. And they saw they were losing all kinds of money on Xbox because they saw the numbers of what Call of Duty was selling year over year.
Yeah.
And then they saw this massive drop off, and it wasn't covered by the subscribers to Game Pass. So they announced big price hikes for Game Pass. Like Microsoft was like, okay, we're done losing money. We're going to increase prices on Game Pass now. So Game Pass Ultimate went up like 50%, jumped from $19.99 up to $29.99 a month. and even like the PC, which was $11.99, jumped up to $15.99. And I had a Game Pass subscription at that time, and I was like, nope, that's it for me. I'm out. It's not worth it at that price anymore.
Yeah.
No. So a lot of people dropped off as soon as they announced those price increases. The subscribers jumped off, and they had just admitted just not long ago that they lost a lot of subscribers because of that. When Asha Sharma took over, that was one of the early things that she did too. She cut the prices back down. So Ultimate is now like $23 a month, and PC Game Pass is down to $14. But they also announced that Call of Duty is no longer a Game Pass game. It may come to Game Pass like later in its life, maybe a year after release, maybe. But day one, it will have to be purchased just like it used to be because they just weren't making money.
So with her as CEO, like I saw the press conference. I saw her give out the free Xboxes to all the goons in the crowd,
Sure.
and lowering the prices and everything. But with the room temperature IQs that decided to show the Hellblade trailer and then freaking like announce the closure of the studios. Like, do you think that she's taking in, or do you think this lady is just like looking at spreadsheets and like data and then just being like, all right, cut this, cut this?
Yeah. And I think because she has to, like Sanjay, the CEO over Microsoft, is like, we have to make money. And Xbox is not making us money. So you either have to figure out a way to make it make money, or we need to sell it off and get rid of it because it's, we can't continue to lose money on this division. So I think that's what she's trying to do. And, one of the interesting things she did at the Summer Games Fest too was announce that the new Gears of War game and Clockworks only is going to be Xbox PC exclusives, not coming to PlayStation.
And she pulled the Halo trailer.
Right. And she pulled the Halo trailer from the PlayStation presentation. Yeah, exactly. And I think that's probably a way to try to save Xbox because, look, the Xboxes are not selling. People are not buying the console, right? No. They just don't care. There isn't enough of a reason to buy the console. And so if you can play Xbox's biggest games on the PlayStation, why would you buy an Xbox? Like, you're like, man, I can get all of the PlayStation games and some of the Xbox games. Yeah, we could just get the PlayStation. That's the way to go. So, of course, I think moving forward, exclusives have to be a thing if they want people to purchase their console, right? Like they don't make a lot of money on the sales of the consoles. It's the software sales and the licensing to release the software on their console where they make the most money.
Yeah.
And they invest hundreds of millions of dollars into the design and development of these consoles. And then, like I said, they don't make a lot of money. Sometimes they even lose money at the beginning as prices come down for things, for some of the items, the hardware that's in the console itself, they can go back to breaking even or maybe even making a little bit. But yeah, I mean, it's really dependent on software sales. And if you're not selling the software, then why are you bothering? Why are you bothering to do it?
Yeah.
Like, what do you think of that whole thing of Xbox exclusivity? Do you feel it's important, or?
I feel like it's a huge thing because, like, I don't know, you want more options, right? Like, yeah, it'd be great to have everything on one console, but that's not really great for different manufacturers of these things. Like, I mean, and I think that when you have Xbox exclusives and PlayStation exclusives, it gives you more of a reason to own more consoles. Like, I mean, from a capitalist pig standpoint.
Well, if Xbox shuts down their console division or they find a buyer to come and take it over, and that's not going to be cheap either. And who's going to want it? Who's going to want the beleaguered brand that right now is Xbox, right? How much is it worth to anybody? And is it worth trying to continue to save it? For Microsoft, I think it's still worth it, but for somebody else, I don't know that it's worth the investment to do it.
So for everybody listening right now, go out and buy an Xbox because they're really hurting, They need the money.
Yeah, sure. I do want to get into Linux too. We talked, we get into Linux, and I think it's important we talk about it. Have you heard of the Steam Deck, Lee? Have you heard of, right? So Steam Deck is a handheld released by Valve. Valve is the company in charge of Steam. That is the largest PC game store in existence. They have been the leader on PC for many years now, and they decided we're going to release a handheld game or handheld console rather, that you can, when you boot it up, it'll boot up the Steam operating system where all of your games that are in your library are already on Steam. You log into your account, all your games are there. You can play all your games. You can actually, you can install other stores on your Steam Deck as well and get other stores games. Like I think you can get Epic Games Store games and GOG on there, I believe, as well. It's a pretty interesting thing, but the whole operating system runs on Linux. And the way that they've been able to do that is through a software called Proton. So Proton goes and it interprets all of the commands that happen on Windows. It converts those Windows commands into commands that Linux can understand, and all your games can run on Linux. Almost all. There's some online games that involve anti-cheat that don't have a way to run on Linux right now, but they're trying to figure out ways to integrate that stuff so that you can. But Linux, as of March of this year, just crossed over a 5% market share among PC gamers. And it's not just on the Steam Deck. People who have PCs have been fed up with Windows, fed up with even trying to game through the Xbox software on PC. What a mess it is. They're like, you know what? I'm just going to leave it all behind and I'm going to go to Linux. And now, 5% and growing. It's growing every month. That number gets higher and higher. Yeah. And there are dedicated distributions of Linux that you can download and install that make it real easy, especially like there's one called Bazite. Bazite is a prepackaged little Linux operating system that has Proton built in. And especially if you have like an AMD system with an AMD CPU and an AMD GPU, man, you can just load up and you're, almost ready to go, once you get set up with playing all of your games on Steam in Linux. And it's a full operating system. You can you still have your desktop and stuff. Now the thing is trying to use some of the Windows software. Not all Windows software is compatible with Linux. There's some other workarounds there with what's it called? Wine. Wine stands for wine is not an emulator. So it doesn't emulate software, but it translates software through a compatibility layer. It's kind of complicated, but it just makes some software work on Linux that only would work in Windows.
That's cool.
Yeah. So the whole idea is of people are fed up and they want alternatives, and Linux is a way to get away from everything Microsoft. And it's getting better, as more people transition and change over to Linux. The developers of these distributions like Bazite or CachyOS, they're getting better and better and support more things and more features, and easier to install and easier to set up. Yeah, and the fact that it's free. Like,
yeah, that's the best part.
You don't have to pay for this stuff, right? I mean, Linux, it's open source, and yeah. So yeah, and once again, I think this has been an interesting conversation. I think a lot of the gaming studios that Microsoft spent all this money on, I'm afraid that a lot of them and their future is up in the air.
Yeah,
and we're going to find out in the next coming weeks here what's going to happen and how many people might lose their jobs. It really sucks.
Yeah, it's pretty terrible.
Well, it's, like I said, been another good conversation, and yeah, we'll be back again with more interesting topics to cover. Anything else you want to add to this one, Lee?
Go out, support software companies, people. Buy physical games.
Buy physical games. Yes.
Or buy digital games, but just buy the games directly from the software developers. Don't pay for Games Pass or Games as a Service or whatever the fuck PlayStation's is called.
Right.
Nintendo's is okay because that's all you're forced into it, guys.
You're forced into it. Yeah, exactly.
You want to relive the nostalgia, you got to do it.
Yes. All right. Thanks everybody for listening, and hopefully you'll tune in again.
Yeah. Thanks everybody.